This is Dandadan.
Huh?
Millions and millions of views on its opening. The show that's got all your favorite YouTubers yapping about remorseful spirits, kids losing their nuts, and Epstein's evil aliens. But this global sensation, this anime that seems to defy all convention and is on pace to be the most watched of 2024, it wasn't supposed to exist. It was written on a whim, inspired by a single word after a decade of failure from its author. And the story goes a little like this. In 2007, a 22-year-old Yukinobu Tatsu, that's the author, would get thrust into the manga industry, not because it was his childhood dream or he always wanted to become a mangaka, but because he was broke as hell in the middle of one of the largest recessions the world has ever seen.
3 and 4.5%. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate.
He was probably eating the Japanese equivalent of fucking Hungry Man in kids' cuisine. Ugh. But he did have one skill: drawing. For 3 years, he would slave away drawing manga from 10 a.m. until 5 a.m. the next morning, sleeping next to the copy machine before getting up to do the same thing again. But in 2010, he would get his first big break. Seigi no Rokugo, his manga about a detached, unmotivated high schooler, would get published in Kodansha's monthly shonen magazine. And for about a year, it would run consistently detailing stories of this high school teen. Oh, okay, no big deal, this happens in the industry. Right after that, he would get another manga serialized, Fireball, a sports manga trying to capture the magic of baseball in Japan, the beauty of competition, the passion pouring out of thousands of fans, the tension of huge, clutch moments. Now, Tatsu, at this point, maybe just a little pissed off that all his serialized manga were getting canceled, is kind of beefing with the person in charge at Kodansha. And I like to imagine in that moment he was looking up to the heavens and asking, why me? But let me tell you something, brother. God is good. Cause when shit going left, it ain't going right. And when you find yourself in dangerous waters, sometimes you gotta turn that ship around, start over new, and set yourself up to go straight again. And that's exactly what Tatsu did. In 2015, he would leave Kodansha to join Jump SQ, currently being ran by a little man with the name of Shihei Lin. It was here that Lin would get Tatsu to read 100 romance manga, a challenge that was supposed to get him to understand people and emotions and subtlety, to which Tatsu would create Renai Saibaiho, or Love Cultivation Method, a beautiful teen romance manga that... Alright, let's try this one-shot idea. Kami-sama no... Hello? I didn't even get to finish the name that time. After that one-shot failed to gain any traction whatsoever, it was hard for Tatsu to even get serialized again, to even make it to publication. He would pitch rejected idea after rejected idea after rejected idea, until in 2016, Lin would introduce him to somebody who he'd been editing for recently, somebody who was kind of a young prodigy in the manga industry, Tatsuki Fujimoto. You might know this guy for making some completely deranged shit, but also one of the most popular manga of the last decade, Chainsaw Man. It was here that Tatsu would find himself surrounded by talent. Tatsuya Endo, creator of Spy Family, Yuji Kaku, who would go on to make Hell's Paradise. This seems like a sanctuary to work at, talented, like-minded people to bounce ideas off of. But still, Even 3 years later, even all of that time spent here, every idea he came up with, every time he entered that boardroom, it's failure after 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 failure. This is bullshit! You know you can succeed in this industry. You watched your peers skyrocket to fame with Spy Family. You worked on Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. You were a part of Hell's Paradise blowing up. Everyone says you have potential. You know you can draw. I mean, look at this fucking spread. Assistant or not, you have a decade in this industry. You helped the people you worked with just as much as they helped you. And as Chainsaw Man and Hell's Paradise are approaching their ending, it all comes down to this. 35 years old, 10 years now of working in manga, a lifetime of drawing. You put your entire being, a culmination of all of your ideas, Pixar style image boards, plot lines, your dreams, your life's work, thousands of hours of practice, of sacrifice, of heartbreak, of love, into one manga about spirits and ghosts. I don't think I could do this anymore. Nobody understands. I don't know. I just don't got it, apparently. I don't have what you guys have. If that wasn't even good enough, I don't think I can keep drawing manga. It's not for me.
Oh, Tatsu-sama. Why don't you just try drawing freely without thinking about anything?
Drawing freely? Days later, pages start flying from Tatsu's pen, inspired by Sadako vs. Kayako, a movie where monsters fight monsters. He just draws freely. No expectations, no trying to fit into any kind of genre, no page limit constraints. He always wanted to write a shonen with a female main character, so he puts it in. He loved the realism in Berserk's backgrounds, the detail in Junji Ito's horror, the beauty in Studio Ghibli films. So he puts all of that in. This was supposed to just be rehab, something to tap his creative desire, something to free him from his writer's block. So he just drew. He drew loose. He drew fast, with momentum, with pace. And when he took the first chapter to his editor, it clicked. Immediately, they started bouncing ideas off of each other.
Okay, bro-sama. Don't laugh. You gotta promise me you won't laugh. Okay, like, what would happen if you lost your balls?
Your teeth are finished, and your gums should be here by the end of the
Where's my dick at? Where? Hey!
That's genius! From there, Tatsu maps out an actual plot, and by some miracle, he found himself having fun with manga again. You can see it in the crazy-ass designs for monsters, cryptids, and aliens that started filling his sketchpad. Seriously, what gas do you have to smoke to come up with this? But the real problem wasn't the editor. It never was. All those canceled pitches and projects the editor believed in. He saw the potential when nobody else did. The real problem was the hurdle Tatsu hadn't been able to crack since his last long-form manga failed way back in 2013. Like always, it would all come down to the serialization meeting.
Get a load of these two schmucks. They're back for more. They want to pitch another manga. Alright, don't mess with my day. What's your big idea this time?
So like, it's about this boy and this girl, and they like use the aliens and other monsters' powers against them.
Yeah, and like one of the monsters steals his balls. I mean, can you believe that? He has no balls. Is that not crazy?
Sold! From the first chapter, copies start flying off the shelves. Endorsements from Chainsaw Man's author, One Punch Man, Hell's Paradise, Made in Abyss. 440 million views on Jump Plus, the most recommended manga in Japan in 2022. This thing was a hit from the very start, but I don't think it ends here. That origin of failure, of being on your last leg and almost giving up, of freedom and redemption plays a huge part in why it's so fucking amazing. So let's make that connection. Let's pick apart the episodes, comb through the characters, and try to find the magic that, holy shit, right from the jump, this show is zooming. Immediately, you can feel that momentum it was written with. It bounces from climax to climax to climax in a way that makes it bombastic, and just when you think you got it all figured out, no the fuck you don't. I don't even think Tatsu had it all figured out. That speed and unpredictability makes the show energetic and fun, and that energy extends right into the animation. Of course, you lose some of the detail of the static drawings of those backgrounds. I mean, look at what they did to my boy's fade. But you replace that with these electrifying explosions of color. Most anime that have magic have some kind of aura, but in DanDaDan, these auras bleed into the entire screen. They dominate the space until someone else comes to steal it away. It gives the fights a real sense of scale and momentum. The animation staff take every opportunity to take something traditional and turn it into something novel and unique. There's this scene where our main characters are cornered, the villain is engulfing them, doom seems inevitable, when suddenly... Did you see that? It's just a flashback. Something that exists in every other anime, but I've never seen it illustrated quite like that. These kind of moments are littered throughout the show. It feels like every moment is filled with this kind of cool intent that you want to lean into it. You want to overanalyze small shit and go full hyperfixation. And the music absorbs all of that chaotic energy. It was made by one of my goats, the same fella behind this, and this, and these. There's this moment where he takes classical music and turns it into a trap remix. All of that combines to create this immersive roller coaster where we're rocketing from moment to moment, each beat pulling us faster and faster. The pacing is relentless. It throws you twist after twist, daring you to keep up without even giving you a single second to gasp for air. But if that's all this show was, fun, that wouldn't have people reacting like this. The truth is I left something out. Somehow on this never-ending roller coaster going seemingly 200 miles an hour, they find time to take pit stops at some of the realest shit you've ever seen. And it treats those moments with the same delicacy, intensity, and execution as the fun ones. It starts small. I was watching Uzumaki recently, and aside from the anime cutting out a lot of shit from the manga and production falling off a fucking cliff after the first episode, the other thing that threw me off about it was the characters would see some genuinely insane, depraved shit and react like this. Yes, this could only be the curse of the spiral. It's twisting them, warping their souls. It turned them into a snail. What the fuck do you mean he became a snail? That doesn't surprise you? That doesn't freak you out at all? This is how characters in DanDaDan react. I'll give you a moment. Which one do you think is more like how you'd react? If you answered B, come on down. You might not be a complete sociopath. During the pandemic, I met this girl and it was magical. It seemed like we just connected on everything. Everything I was interested in, she was interested in. She was interested in shit that I didn't even know I'd like yet. We didn't have a whole lot to do on account of the world seemingly burning to ashes around us. So there was a lot of days just sitting on FaceTime or Discord, just yapping our little hearts away, changing each other's perspectives about life and shit. It didn't work out. Realistically, I don't think it was ever gonna work out, at least not at that time. But it was fun. DanDaDan reminds me of those summer nights, laying in bed, kicking your feet up, waiting for a text back, falling asleep on the phone with each other. It's so earnest and spontaneous and cute, which is crazy for an anime because most of the time you see this dib-looking motherfucker in a romance And it's this dorky ass, loser ass, obvious self-insert that you can just tell was made to sell copies and make the reader feel good, to make it feel like you, yes, you, lonely otaku man who doesn't go outside can somehow generate a harem to your wildest desires at the snap of a finger without changing anything about yourself. Just call 1-800-BUY-MY-SLOP-MANGA today. That's 1-800-BUY-MY-SLOP-MANGA today. And it just rips me from any immersion. But not once during DanDaDan have I thought, there's no way Okudun could pull this, because it feels natural. There are people who say DanDaDan subverts a lot of tropes, and they're not wrong. I mean, Dib here isn't even the brains of the group, it's Momo. But it's not subverting these character archetypes just for the sake of it or to be unique or different to me. It's subverting them by being free, because it was written freely, it was written organically and spontaneously. Tropes are useful writing tools for being the building blocks of stories that can make the audience care. But when you're a good enough author, you can just write people with nuance and depth. Tatsu's not worried about fitting into conventions here. He's drawing freely. When Ken is stuttering like Courage the Cowardly Dog, it's not so you can make it to a scene you've seen in over 9,000 other romance anime. It's just because that's who he is. That's who Momo is. They're childish, they fight, they argue, they roast the fuck out of each other. They do these cute little acts of service that mean way more to the other person than they could ever imagine. And some of you might be saying, Virtue, that's cute and all, but what does that gotta do with the people crying? Those people were crying. I cried because all that relatability, that genuineness, that realism isn't just in the artwork or the romance or the reactions. They use that to build up this cast of characters you feel really involved with, that you relate to, that you get to be in on all their little inside jokes and quirks. This show captures the vibe of just having dumbass conversations with the homies more than anything I've ever watched, and those moments are special. And then Tatsu takes that trust and flips it on your ass. At first you see the yokai and think, get this nasty old cock goblin bitch away from my son Okudun. You worry about them getting in the way of your new friend's dreams and motivations, but not much else. But slowly something happens. The layers get peeled back on these antagonists, on their true nature, and it breaks you. It breaks you in a way that comes from understanding, from experiencing true hardship. Because Tatsu doesn't see them as monsters. He sees them as human, as people going through conflict. That empathy and the ability to portray it in a way that's so raw and emotional comes from a place that he's familiar with, from feeling like you were one bad step away from ending up in the same situation as them. So he extends that kindness to them. The same one that fills the main characters, the same that makes the show so fun, the same that stuck with him after being gifted 1,000 yen for some pork and coffee so he didn't have to starve himself to sleep at night. The trauma, grief, and anxiety that he still carries, that the characters carry even through all the silly shit. You can see the essence of his other manga in DanDaDan. You can tell these were stories he was itching to get people to connect with for a long time. The lonely high schooler, the strong female lead, the pain. So with all that in mind, he ends every arc of DanDaDan with this message. After all, it would be too sad if there was no hope. Since it's entertainment, I wanted to end by showing the reader hope. I want to show that people who work hard should be rewarded. I wanted to be kind. That's the most important thing. Except for the aliens? What the fuck is the deal with the aliens?